Revolve Renewable Power is a developer and operator of solar, wind, hydro, and battery power projects in the US, Canada, and Mexico. CEO Myke Clark is here to give an update after having closed an upsized $3 million financing. As well, Mexico has just announced new electricity sector regulations, which seem to positively impact Revolve's growing Mexican power generation business. I'm Martin Gagel with Market Radius Research. Please remember, this is neither a recommendation nor investment advice. We're here to learn about the company. Myke, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Martin. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Very well. You've been busy, closed up a financing, and it looks
Yes.
like dealing with some new regulations down a couple borders south of us. So, what's going on?
Just recently, we did close the financing. So we did a $3 million financing that was led by Beacon Securities. We originally went out to market to raise $2 million and had a lot of strong interest, and so upsized that to $3 million. And so that was primarily small institutions, family offices, and some really good, strong shareholders. Bit of an inflection point, I would say, for Revolve. Gives us a really strong balance sheet moving forward. We'll use the proceeds as around late stage projects, which we could talk about in a little bit as well. But yeah, really happy with the results of it, and clearly want to thank Beacon Securities, but also the new investors who have come in as well. It's great to have them on board.
And essentially, it just gives you a little more strength on your balance sheet to fund the development of new projects and really drive growth here.
So if you think of our business model, we do have recurring revenue. So we do generate revenue from projects that we own and operate, but we have this large portfolio of projects that require capital to continue to move forward. So these are projects that are oftentimes larger, and that we would look to develop and sell down the road. So really, we look at this as dry powder, essentially, to be able to go and move those projects forward, get them to a stage where we can monetize them. And so really, it's an investment in those projects, and an investment essentially in future revenue, basically, as we develop these projects and get them to the point where we create as much value as possible, and then monetize them.
And you did give me a little heads up on the Mexican power regulations to, I guess, help speed up the development of projects. So, what's going on down there? And I guess everyone's getting on the whole electrification bandwagon and trying to realize they've got to accelerate new projects getting developed to help feed our growing desire for power.
Yeah, absolutely. And everything that you see in Canada and the US, you see in Mexico as well. Data centers, manufacturing, electrification of everything, right? And so you're seeing increased demand. And so there's a new administration, or a relatively new administration, in Mexico. And what has happened is that we're seeing, as you mentioned, new regulations to really support new projects, new generation. They put out some targets up to 9 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030, which is a very aggressive target, and feeds well into our strategy. And that, we have projects. We've been developing projects in Mexico for the better part of a decade, and so we have advanced stage projects that have permitting done, or a level of permitting done. They've got the wind studies completed, the layout, the design done, and essentially we're waiting for a route to market. And what these new regulations do is they provide that very clear timeline for us in terms of getting into a process and then moving it through that process relatively quickly to get projects up and running. So it was a very interesting last couple of months. And as we sort of move our way through the end of this year, early into 2026, we're going to see further development and news on those projects, just because of the market really opening up in Mexico.
And I guess one in all the markets, the interconnection lag of getting the utilities or the transmission companies to connect, I guess this is helping, or the government's trying to make sure that the transmission companies have their ducks in line, and so okay, they're not held up by regulations, and they better not be held up by the transmission utility companies themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. It's integrated now. So everything is
Yeah.
sort of together in one sort of process. Government is working with the utility on interconnection, on other forms of permitting. For people in Canada, it's not exactly the same, but it's very similar to the sort of major projects office that the government of Canada has instituted, where they've identified large critical projects that they want to help push forward. It's much the same in Mexico as well, with renewable energy. And so the benefit obviously for us is that we've gone from this period of time where we weren't quite sure, what the future was for the projects or what the timeline was, to a future where we now know that there is a demand. We know that the government is behind it. We know that industry needs the power, and now there's that path to market. And just as a reminder, we do have several projects down there. The earliest or latest stage, I guess you would call it, is the 24 project. It's EL24 is what it is on our website, 130 megawatts. And then a much larger project called Presa Nueva, which is currently 400 megawatts. So again, over half a gigawatt of projects for us now that we are well positioned to move through this process. So from our perspective, it's been incredible in that, working with the government, working closely with the government in Mexico to move these projects along. It's been pretty exciting, and we expect and hope for good things to come over the course of the remainder of this year, but obviously into 2026 as well.
Business is good in Mexico. It's any other things
Yes.
to add to that?
Yeah, it's going well. Those are utility scale projects, of course. Our
Yeah.
investors may recall we signed an agreement for a partnership agreement on distributed generation. So those are those smaller, usually rooftop solar, where we sell electricity to commercial entities, commercial industrial customers. And so that partnership, we've been going through a portfolio of projects, and I'll just tell people to stay tuned on that. But we're doing the assessment on those individual projects to see which ones we're going to move forward and finance and get built and get up and operating. So it's sort of the combination, this is our business model. Smaller projects that we get up and operating quicker to generate that recurring revenue, combined with those larger projects that at some point we'll look to partner or sell and generate those larger outsized returns.
And just to be clear, those smaller, distributed generation projects, for the most part, you're planning on owning and operating them and getting the recurring revenues and the recurring cash flows off of those, right?
100%. That is all we do on distributed generation. We're not the
Yeah.
builder, so we're not going to be out there actually boots on the ground building it. We're working with those EPC contractors who will bring projects to us. We own and operate it and then sell the electricity to the customer.
All right. Myke, thanks for the update. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Martin.